Because of everything being closed down due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the entire state of Illinois is in a lockdown, a stay-at-home order that was extended for the entire month of May. So what else is there to do when you have a stay-at-home order due to a pandemic? You get to explore haunted abandoned cemeteries. So today, I am taking you to Bachelor's Grove Cemetery. It is reportedly one of the most haunted cemeteries in North America. I've been here twice before, and to be honest, I've never had any weird vibes here. To me, it's just an old abandoned cemetery in this patch of woods. But I haven't been here in a few years, so I figured let's go explore this cemetery. I'll give you a little background of the history of this place, and maybe we'll see a ghost. Maybe we'll hear a ghost. Let's find out. So come with me to Bachelor's Grove Cemetery, one of the most haunted cemeteries in North America. All right, so that is Bachelor Grove Cemetery, straight ahead. We're in the Rubio Woods bike path right here. You have to cross this main road to get to the actual trail that leads to the cemetery. All right, crossing the road. Traffic's not too heavy right now because of the whole COVID-19 thing. Not a lot of people are driving, so that's a good thing. All right, we're here. This is the entrance to Bachelor's Grove Cemetery. Not the official entrance, but this is the trail that leads to the cemetery. And this actually used to be an old street that cars could drive on, and it was closed off, I think, at some point in the 1960s to traffic. So now it's just for foot travel. But you can see the hours are sunrise to sunset, and police do heavily patrol this area. So it's highly advised not to come here at night. As much as people would like to, there's been a lot of police that patrol at night. So most likely you will get arrested for trespassing if you try to get in here at night. It's definitely a risk. So here we are walking down the path to Bachelor's Grove Cemetery, one of the most haunted cemeteries in the world.
Vine or the other tree wrapped around that tree.
Oh yeah, that's pretty cool. You can see some vines here wrapped around the trees. Perfect kind of setting for a haunted cemetery. So I want to be real here. I do believe in ghosts. I have had some paranormal experiences in my past, things that I cannot explain, and I have visited many popular haunted locations throughout the United States, including the Lemp Mansion in St. Louis, the Whaley House in San Diego, the Villisca Axe Murder House in Villisca, Iowa, to name a few. I've been to Bachelor's Grove a couple times before. I really don't think this place is haunted. I think that famous ghost picture from the early 90s was most likely a hoax. I think that's something that's pretty easy to fake, especially on grainy film. So I'm weird. I think this place is kind of a peaceful old cemetery in the woods, and it's got a really unique history. A lot of the early pioneers and settlers here in the Chicagoland area from the 1840s, 1850s, 1860s are buried here. And this is where they settled. This is land around here. So I think it's really cool to know more about the history of this region. And let's just kind of look at the cemetery today for what it is. There's a lot of old pilgrims, pioneers buried here, and they deserve our utmost respect. So I'm open to haunted history. I'm open to haunted experiences. I'm open to paranormal experiences. I'm just very skeptical when it comes to this location because I've never felt anything or seen anything or heard anything here before. I think it's just a peaceful old cemetery that's unfortunately kind of forgotten, abandoned here in this wooded area known as Rubio Woods. So here we are, let's take a look. Okay, so here's the main trail, and we have reached the gateway. to Bachelor's Grove Cemetery. There used to be a sign over the entryway here many years ago that had Bachelor's Grove Cemetery written above this, and that is no longer here right now. But here we go, we're stepping in one of the most haunted cemeteries in North America. No, I wish.
Gotcha.
We're just amateurs.
Yeah, for sure.
We're trying to be someday.
Yeah, I want that.
Did you guys see any ghosts?
No.
No?
I was looking.
Oh, we went frog hunting instead.
Oh, you went frog hunting?
Yeah, I caught a couple down there by the riverbank.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to do some frog hunting today. So if we don't find ghosts, we're going to do some frog hunting. There is a bog over here at the far end of the cemetery, and there's a lot of urban legends and myths that the gangs in the 1920s, 1930s during the Prohibition era, like Al Capone, would bury bodies and dump them here in the swamp. None of that has been proven. There's no evidence to that. I think that's all just urban legends, tales that have been passed on over the decades here. But we'll take a look at this bog here in a sec. So this is the infamous bog here at the edge of Bachelor's Grove Cemetery, where supposedly Prohibition-era gangs would dump bodies in. But really, I'm just interested in looking for some frogs. That young gentleman said there were frogs here. I hear them. They must have all jumped in the water here. You the one making all that noise? He's all quiet now. He must be camera shy. All right. Oh, there he goes again. There's another little frog right here, just hanging out in the bog. Aside from ghostly tales of apparitions coming out of the waters, phantom cars on the old road that goes by, the white lady Madonna that is said to appear here in the cemetery, and a phantom farmhouse where the window apparently appears here in the woods. There's lots and lots of stories, paranormal stories here in Bachelor's Grove Cemetery, but when you look at the history, back in the late 19th century, early 20th century, and there goes my iWatch. When you look at history in the late 19th century and early 20th century, many of the families used to picnic here in the cemetery grounds, and people would also swim in what is now that murky bog over there. They used to actually swim in that. It wasn't until about the 1950s when the cemetery became abandoned that it kind of became a place for teenagers to hang out, vandalize, party, and cause all sorts of mischief here in this old little cemetery in the woods. So you can see a lot of the tombstones here are dated back, born in 1842, died in 1925. So a lot of these are earlier settlers to this region of Chicago. And one of the most famous ones of all is the Fulton family tombstone, located right here. And the father, his marker is still here, 1838 to 1922, and I found this excellent website. I will put the link in the video. This is the Fulton family, and this right here, the older gentleman there at the front, is John Fulton Jr., this man right here. That is who is buried here. He is the father. The mother, if I can get that in focus, is Huldah Fulton. And she is also buried here. I did a little research. That may be her headstone right there, but it was stolen many decades ago, and they were never able to locate it. So the mother and father of this famous Fulton grave, here they are, Mr. and Mrs. Fulton. And this photo was taken in 1916. Those are their 3 kids that were still survived at the time. In the back row, a little more information of this famous tombstone here at Bachelor's Grove Cemetery is the famous infant daughter. You can see that people have left all kinds of memorials here, stuffed animals, toys. Somebody even left a mask. Unfortunately, she's already passed. That mask isn't really going to do anything, but kind of gives you a sign of the times now during this whole COVID-19 pandemic. But the infant daughter is actually, get the picture in focus again, John and Huldah's granddaughter. Their son right there in the back row, that is his daughter. So their son right there in the back row, that is his daughter here, the infant daughter, buried with his parents, so her grandparents. So in actuality, you've got grandma and grandpa buried with their granddaughter. And it's a beautiful tombstone. This is actually the largest tombstone that still resides here in Bachelor Grove Cemetery. People started being buried here at the cemetery sometime in the 1840s, and this continued until about the early to mid 20th century. The last person buried in the cemetery took place in 1989. You can see the cemetery is under a lot of disrepair. It basically became abandoned in the 1950s and became a popular hangout spot for teenagers in the 1950s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. You can see a lot of vandalism has taken place here. A lot of people snuck in during that time period from about 1950 to 1980, desecrated graves, stole tombstones, vandalized and pushed them over. Luckily, that has stopped in recent decades, it looks like. The city has been taking care of this cemetery roughly for a couple decades now, which is sad to see. You know, old historic pioneer cemeteries like this in such disrepair, it is sad to see with all this history and just, you know, respect, just to be respectful of the people that are buried here, families that lived in this region 150 years ago, 100 years ago. But it is good to see that it is still open to the public and some of these tombstones are being taken care of, and it's something that we can come back to today and reflect on. The Warren family, 1853 to 1904. This tombstone does not even have a date or a name inscripted in it. It looks like there may have been a statue that stood at the top of that at one point. It's hard to say. Unfortunately, this place has also become a popular site for cults. There have been devil worshipping that has taken place here. Police and people exploring this place have found all kinds of strange artifacts, animal sacrifices. So there are some strange occurrences from cults that happen in this cemetery. I don't know if this still occurs. I do know that police are heavily watching this area at night. So my guess would be it doesn't go on as much as it used to, maybe back in the 1970s, 1980s, and 1990s. Hard to say, but like I said earlier, to me, this is a very peaceful old cemetery with a lot of rich pioneer history in the southwest suburbs of Chicago. This grave here almost has like a marble, kind of a granite surface to it. Nice texture. These two are leaned up right next to this massive tree stump. James McKee, 1845 to 1911. Delaney McKee, 1855 to 1920. You can see some of these tombstones have been knocked over. Wheeler died in 1929 and 1928. Another Fulton relative, it looks like. Aya. This one's hard to make out as well. The grave has been weathered pretty badly. There are a total of 82 plots here at the cemetery. Not all of them are used, however, and many of the bodies have also been interred somewhere else in other cemeteries here in the Chicagoland area. For those interested in learning more, there's this fantastic website called thepathtobachelor'sgrove.com, and they actually have a grid of all 82 plots here at the cemetery and information on who is buried there and what the tombstones look like. So this is a great website that, again, I will put below. I'll put a link below in the description for anyone interested to learn the layout of Bachelor's Grove Cemetery and also some of the history of the families that are buried here or lived in this part of Chicago. In this grave right here is the grave the infamous ghostly apparition of a woman was sitting on in this famous picture from 1991. You can see that that is the exact same grave that this was captured on. Now, I don't believe this photo is real by any means, but this photo and this article of this ghost was in the Chicago Sun-Times back in the early 90s. So it actually made headline news here in the Chicagoland area, which is pretty crazy. So I'm going to sit on this famous grave where this
Don't do that.
apparition
I
was
would
sitting
not
on.
do that.
This very same grave right here in Bachelor's Grove Cemetery. Now, I don't know who is buried here. There's no names or dates inscribed on the grave. I was trying to figure that out by looking at the grid on this website, and grave 75 listed there in green is actually this big tombstone that's been knocked over. It says Foskett. This is listed as 75, so I don't know who is buried here. 74 is one of these here right next to the cemetery entryway. So it's a mystery to me. I don't know. There we go. I don't know which grave this one is. So I don't know if this is 73 or 64, but it's labeled here in white, which according to this website is an empty plot. So I don't know who is buried here or the background to this. If anybody knows, leave a comment below. All right, let's do this. Let's sit on the grave. I am sitting on the tombstone that famous ghostly apparition of a woman back in 1991 was supposedly sitting. So she must have been staring off into the woods. So that famous picture taken of that female apparition is probably the most popular paranormal evidence, and I say that lightly, taken here at the cemetery. There's been a lot of stories throughout the years about phantom dogs, a phantom farmhouse where people can see a mysterious window light up in the woods and then disappear. Orbs, massive orbs and lights that float throughout the graveyard, supposedly better seen at night. They say that the lights can float into the woods, into the bog, all over the cemetery here. Disembodied voices, all the classic stuff. Myself, I've been here several times. I've never felt any kind of strange paranormal senses, any kind of fears here in the cemetery. Maybe people have seen or heard things, I just have not myself. So I'm a little bit of a skeptic when it comes to the hauntings of Bachelor's Grove Cemetery. Maybe it's real. I'll leave that up to you to decide, for you to decide. But I do want to state it is a piece of history here in Chicago. I like coming here just to reminisce, as weird as that sounds. There's a lot of history here, and it's important to be respectful to those who have passed, be respectful to the cemetery and the graves. It is a piece of history and a piece of Chicago. You can see Deck has a small candle lit next to the name. Died in 1949. This grave looks kind of interesting. It's got a slab of rock just kind of leaning right here. And you can also see there's a small candle. No name inscribed. No, look, a bottle of Hennessy. Somebody who likes to go and get drunk in old cemeteries. Wonderful. Or maybe they're just using that as hand wash for the COVID-19. Wow. 1862. During the American Civil War, this person passed away and was buried here between these two now massive trees. Not sure how old these trees are. They might have been just tiny little saplings. Saplings? Can't speak. Tiny little saplings at the time of this burial. There's another large grave here with the name Shields, with a small candle on top. And the top was knocked over. Charles Shields, 1955, and actually I believe this is the last person who was buried here in Bachelor's Grove Cemetery, Robert E. Shields, 1917 to October 10th, 1989. So I think this is where the last person buried in Bachelor's Grove was put to rest. Bill here got an orb. I can't even focus on this, Bill. There we go. Oh yeah, you got a massive orb here in the cemetery. I can't even focus on anything. It's a ghost. It's a ghost.
User error.
It was a sunspot, guys. Come on. Come on. All right, well, it's almost sunset, and I am the only person in this cemetery right now. There were quite a few people when I got here about 45 minutes ago, but now I'm the only one. So if there was ever a time for a ghost or a spirit that is not at rest to make itself known, now would be that time. All I can hear is the roar of the streets and highway nearby. I do not hear anything so far. But maybe I'll review the audio on this footage and something will make itself known. I don't know. Like I said time and time again throughout this video, I'm a skeptic of the stories from Bachelor's Grove Cemetery. I don't have a feeling of eeriness. I've been to some very haunted locations and I've been put on edge almost immediately. It's almost like walking through like a vacuum or a seal into an entirely different kind of atmosphere. It's very strange. It's hard to explain. But this place, I've just never really felt anything. It's just, to me, again, it's an old cemetery in the woods with a lot of rich history to this little southwest suburban region of Chicago. Maybe I need to delve a little bit deeper into the woods. So let's hit up some of these trails. Maybe we can find that phantom farmhouse. Or maybe hear the motors of the old Model Ts driving up and down this stretch of trail. Because this used to be an old street right here. Cars used to actually drive up and down this little path to the front gates of Bachelor's Grove Cemetery. So let's go check out the trail. Maybe there's something out there. At the very least, maybe we can catch some frogs. That'd be fun. They were all afraid of me over there, so I couldn't get my hands on any. All right, we are diving deeper into the trail outside of the cemetery. There's the cemetery right there. I just talked to them. They didn't see a phantom farmhouse, so that's a good sign. But we are diving into. That's actually kind of dangerous. I just noticed there's a tree that is looking like it's gonna fall over right there. It's probably not safe. But anyway, let's just walk a little bit up this path. Supposedly the phantom farmhouse makes an appearance by the creek here. Supposedly there's also a phantom black dog, which I really hope I don't run into a rabid dog, because that would be terrifying. Got a nice little creek here. Let's go down and explore more of this creek a little bit. Yeah, it's beautiful. And this is all part of Rubio Woods near Midlothian, Illinois, which is a southwest suburb of Chicago. I don't know if I said that earlier, but now you know. If you watch this video long enough, you'll learn where this is. Unless I edit something later, which you're already seeing this, so it doesn't matter. Cool, check this out. So not much to see here. I guess if you want your exercise, there's plenty of trails to hike on, which is a cool thing. Especially during this COVID-19 pandemic. This is social isolation at its best. I am the only person out here. I don't see anybody wearing a hockey mask. So that is a good thing. All right. Oh, that's a stick to the stomach. That felt great. Okay, look at this. There's a packet of Swisher Sweets sitting on the tree branch. It's a Swisher Sweet tree. I think a Swisher Sweet was probably one of the first things I ever tried smoking when I was 18. I don't smoke. But when I turned 18, like most of you out there, you probably had to try a cigar or a Swisher Sweet or something for the first time. It's your right. It's your right to smoke. Okay, Well, that is just a little glimpse of the trail past Bachelor's Grove Cemetery. It's kind of cool, actually. You can see the trail goes, it like ends right here, and then there's like more trail across that. So I don't know if you can grab a vine. Maybe I could grab that vine right there and Indiana Jones across this onto the other side. But that is way too much work that I'm willing to put in right now. Especially when the main focus on this vlog was about the cemetery and any kind of paranormal activity that we might come across during this exploration. All right. Well, I think the sun is about to set, which is usually the best time to go out to spooky haunted locations and try to document things that could happen. But because this is a heavily policed park and I would have to get special permission to do so, last thing I want, especially during this pandemic, is to get a trespassing sign or ticket, a citation or ticket. So I think it is time to call it. Again, I'm the only one here in this neck of the woods by the cemetery. So if there is anything out here, make a noise, make a sign, show me that you're here. I saw a chipmunk just run across the trail. I do not hear anything. I don't see anything. All right. Well, let's head back up the trail towards the parking lot in Rubio Woods. And I guess I'll wrap this thing up. That was a squirrel. I heard something in the woods. It was just a squirrel. This is kind of cool. There's an uprooted tree right there. Well, if some of these shots are coming in a little bit blurry, I'm taking a while to focus on things, it's because I am using a brand new camera. This is the Sony RX100 Mark VII. This is the first vlog that I've done using this new camera, so I'm getting used to completely new hardware. I'm trying to bring better quality pictures to you guys. So I'm still getting used to this. Every other vlog before this was filmed on my iPhone XS Max. So this is my first step into using an actual camera to shoot my vlogs, which is really exciting, but there's so much to take in, especially with a camera like the Sony RX100 Mark VII. So hopefully this will improve over time. And here is the view of the old road that the cars used to go back and forth on, that supposedly the phantom car travels along. But this is the way out of the cemetery. All right, well, that was Bachelor's Grove Cemetery, one of the most haunted cemeteries in North America. We did not see anything today, except for an orb on Bill's camera, but that's beside the point. We did not see anything really worth documenting or sharing as far as paranormal activity goes. But if you are a paranormal enthusiast or you love history, I do recommend coming out here to Bachelor's Grove Cemetery. With all the haunts and tales behind it, it's worth making the trek and seeing it with your own eyes. Just remember to be respectful. It is a historic cemetery, and we don't want to see any more damage being done to the cemetery grounds or to the tombstones themselves. There is a museum in this area that is closed right now because of the pandemic, but when it opens up, I'd love to see it. It is a historic museum here in the Midlothian area that they have a lot of documentation of the people that lived here. They even have some of the damaged tombstones on display in this museum. So I think it would be great to delve a little bit deeper into the history of the pioneers and immigrants and the people that lived in this region hundreds of years ago. Well, 150 years ago, give or take. So with that, thanks for watching. If you're new here, feel free to subscribe. I've got so many other destinations I'm planning to take and share with everyone on here. Again, my main focus is roadside attractions, historical sites, amusement parks, haunted locations. I'm even trying to get a little more into storm chasing. That's a whole different topic in itself. But anyway, thanks for watching, everyone. This is Eric with the Get Me Out of Here vlog. And now it's time for me to get out of here. It's almost sunset. Time for me to get out of here. Thanks for watching. Whew. Be careful when you're crossing this street as well. Some jerk almost hit me with their car. They don't even like to slow down for people, apparently. Maybe they saw the camera and they're like, screw this guy. I'm gonna run him off the road. Anyway, be careful when you're crossing the road. You don't want to be buried in Bachelor's Grove. That wouldn't be good. All right. This is the last thing I wanted to show you guys. This is the John Fulton home. So the family at Bachelor's Grove Cemetery, that famous Fulton tombstone, the largest one in the graveyard, this is where that family lived. This is where the Fulton family lived that is now buried at Bachelor's Grove Cemetery. And this is an old farmhouse. They lived here 100 years ago. Just wanted to show you guys that real quick. It's closed right now because of the pandemic, and also it's 7:30 on a Saturday. But I do want to come back here and tour this. So for those interested in the history of Bachelor's Grove Cemetery, the house of that infamous grave of the Fulton family is right here. And it's about a 10-minute drive from the cemetery. So here in the southwestern burbs of Chicago. And also there's this amazing malt shop located next door. I got myself a tornado and it's getting hot, so I gotta go eat that. Anyway, it's time for me to get out of here. Wanted to give you guys a little more history on Bachelor's Grove Cemetery and the Fulton family. So this is their farmhouse. All right, time to eat ice cream. This is what I'm talking about. A tornado.